Welcome. Thank you for being here. My name's Mary Jane Smith and I'm with ST Math, and it is my pleasure to introduce Allison Day, who is the elementary mathematics coach for the Danvers Public School in Danvers, Massachusetts. Over the last 5 years, Allison has been committed to the wonderful progress being made each school year by supporting teachers and students in Danvers with ST Math implementation tools and guided instruction. So, Allison, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Just a little bit about me. Thank you, Mary Jane, for introducing me. My name is Allison Day, and I was a former 3rd and 5th grade teacher. I am currently the elementary math coach for the district. So we have 5 elementary schools in a small town a little bit north of Boston. So I am going to show you a calendar with lots of ideas, and hopefully you'll have some takeaways, and you'll be able to see it both from a district perspective as well as a smaller school perspective. So I'm going to share my screen.
This meeting is being recorded.
And here we go. So I am going to introduce you to a 12-month kind of planning calendar. Now I do realize this is national, so our school calendar goes from September through June, so that's what you'll see here, but you can definitely adapt it. We actually start school quite late. We start school after Labor Day, so we go through pretty much the end of June, especially when we hit some snow days. But again, you can adapt this to any kind of month and move pieces around and whatnot. Here is our agenda. We are going to start with some goals and the rationale, and then I'll go through the calendar that has ideas for month by month. I'll take some time to pause in between for any questions and answers, and then I'll leave some time at the end. So the first thing is, why a yearly calendar? Especially being a teacher, I think the most important thing is it definitely lightens the load for teachers if you have things prepared in advance. So it reduces the stress, the anxiety. It helps you kind of stay on track. It's very easy to implement. It saves time. A lot of ideas do not have to be super time intensive. They can be very simple and basic and require minimum prep. And it keeps the celebrations different. So there's something new every single month, which keeps it interesting and engaging for both staff and students to kind of build that momentum. And why celebrate Gigi all year round? Well, first of all, it just brings a culture around ST Math, loving math in general. It fosters student excitement and engagement. So many different ways to celebrate student strength, both in the classroom, out of the classroom, with math, not with math. And it's a great way to really have a community with all of your staff at your school, so you can infuse different subjects, different teachers. We got our specialists involved, which was great to kind of just have a whole school community to have something to get involved about. So I just want to take like a quick minute for you to just share maybe one thing that you've already done this year or last year or look forward to doing. I always think everybody should feel celebrated and that you have lots of ideas and really cool things that you've already done. So if you want to just type it in the chat, I'll just give you just a quick minute to do that. Don't be afraid. Anything works. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for adding your ideas. It's awesome. The more ideas, the better. So I'm going to first just share logistics, which I always think is not super fun, but helpful when planning in advance. Again, I am a district coach, so I travel to 5 elementary schools, kindergarten through 5th grade, with about 300 to 400 students per school. We do have a few pre-Ks as well. So I try to make my communication very simple. and routine. I find that to be really helpful. So we luckily have an early release the first Wednesday of every single month. So that's when we have either virtual meetings or we have the district staff together. So that's when I will share a lot of updates in regards to any kind of curriculum, but ST Math related as well. And I follow that up with a monthly email. That way, in case you have people that were not able to attend, or people sometimes do better with written components and can read on their own time. And then we do have champions at every building. So I do try to check in with them a little bit more frequently. I also try to keep everything communicated to principals as well. I know every administrative team is different and has different supports. We luckily have our administrators meet once a week. So I try to either communicate with them by email or we'll try to attend maybe like once one of their meetings. I also have an elementary curriculum director, which is not in a lot of schools, but that's really helpful. So I go and meet with her quite often and just kind of keep the principals in the loop. If they don't attend our early release, they know what's happening with their buildings and with their champions, and their champions touch base with them as well. So here's the fun part is the calendar. So again, it doesn't have to be September. I know some people start in August, but just kind of getting your year off to a start. There are so many things that happen at the beginning of school. So a very just simple way is if you have a school-wide meeting to do some announcements, announce your goals. If you have any competitions you want to start. We took our September to really just like introduce like a school-wide bulletin board, our goal for the year. Some other things you could do is you could print off just a little GG and have every class get a friend and name the GG friend to kind of keep in their class, but very simple. Definitely don't want to add more stress to teachers' lives at the beginning of the school year. So simple, excitement. Gigi's going to be making visits. We're going to do lots of cool challenges this year. And just start off your year on a great note. Very basic. For October, we did decorated Gigi. Depending on where you are, you may or may not celebrate different holidays. So it doesn't have to be related to Halloween or any kind of holiday. It could just be anytime during the year. Decorate, disguise. We did print out a few different versions. We have just the color version, and then we also did a blank version, and just let kids enjoy and be creative. Also, if you're looking for a bulletin board, this is a very quick and easy thing for you to do. It could be school-wide, it could be in your classroom. Doesn't take any prep, just print off the little paper and give some kids some materials if they need them. And then you could ask all the questions that you just heard about, like how many are blank? Like how many are yellow, or how many have hats, or are there more of this and more of that? Lots of different math questions that the kids can come up with that you can ask. You could do some graphing as well. So the kids really liked this, especially kids that love to do arts and crafts. This was just done like as like an indoor kind of recess activity one day. Quick and easy, and it wasn't too messy, so they enjoyed that. November, this is just a fall bulletin board. We do have very nice foliage around our part of the country, so these can just be done on paper. You can do white paper. You can also do colored paper. You could do construction paper. And what's nice about this is it doesn't have to be, you could celebrate students for so many different things. It doesn't have to be math related. It doesn't have to be ST Math related. It could be for perseverance, for effort, for work habits. It could be related to specific ST Math goals that you have. And again, you could have it colored or not colored. Minimum prep if you're looking for just something very basic and a cute little bulletin board that's not going to require too much time. It doesn't have to be fall. It could be, you could use petals for flowers or any kind of like shape that would be an outline that would just make it very easy for you. I find that teachers tend to like having hard copies of things ahead of time. So I wouldn't make the whole copies for their class, but I would kind of provide them with just like a single copy. That way they don't have to even go to a link to print it out. So very basic bulletin board. December, a few different ideas for December. We have just your typical like winter coloring page, lots of snow or snow globes or things like that. I encourage you just to research what's in your school library. We have lots of penguin books, so just putting them out, the kids were all want to take them home, which they were very excited about. And then we also had books on Epic that you could just play to your class. There is a very simple penguin craft here, just with some basic shapes. The photos in the picture are just from a kindergarten class, so they did a great job, especially practicing those skills of cutting and gluing, which we know they don't really have enough of these days. So we were in school break for winter up until the very end. So I'm very close to Christmas Eve. If you celebrate Christmas Eve, we were there till the very end. So this was like a nice kind of, something low key that we're still talking about shapes and talking about size. And the kids had a great time, and then they got to take them home after. So very good. The next thing is probably the most intensive thing that we do. This is our second year doing it. And these are our winter STEAM challenges. We did it last year with kindergarten through 5th grade. I'll talk about the logistics of it after I go through the different activities. It does require some preparation for sure. So this is things that you're going to want to time in advance. I thought it was great to have in January because it definitely reinvigorates bringing Gigi back and kids coming back from the break. It's very engaging and hands-on, and kids are super creative, and there's so much math and challenge involved in it. It really was wonderful. So I'm going to go through kind of what you would need for these different activities, and then I will show you some pictures at the end, and I'll pause as well so you can just have an idea. So each activity has a little description. So one of them was to build a snow shelter for Gigi. So it has a description of, we need some protection from an avalanche. Can you build a fort or a shelter that Gigi can fit inside? Can you keep Gigi safe from falling snow? And then the materials that we gave students were popsicle sticks. So you'll see most of the materials down here are recyclables or things that you can ask families to donate. We really didn't purchase anything on our own. We tried to use things within the classroom and use things that we could reuse. The kids really had a great time building a ski lift for Gigi. Again, we used yarn, recyclables, index cards, binder clips, masking tape. Sledding with Gigi, so build a bobsled. And then they got to test their materials using different like stopwatches and distance wise and rulers, yardsticks, measuring sticks. Create a snowflake. So we used a lot of attribute blocks, pattern blocks for those to build. They didn't take them home. They just kind of made them on paper and we took photos of them. Alpine skiing with Gigi. Make sharp turns. They did a whole long, you definitely need some space for this, but they used a lot of blocks and pattern blocks for this as well. And then ice hockey, we asked them to build a hockey net, which the kids really enjoyed and they wanted to keep playing. So a lot of them came back for recess time. With all those descriptions, we had little signs. So we gave students the opportunity to choose which one they would want to do. We did try to encourage them to kind of stick with one or the other, just because of time wise. And again, I'll talk about the logistics in just a few minutes. But we just we printed these off and we slid them in like the clear plastic photo protectors standing up, and we had them just separated in a space. So the kids really loved this. They were very excited and look forward to it this year. So our staff that was involved with it was excited as well. So here you can see a little bit just more about the materials. The second picture with the Q-tips is just a snowflake. And the picture next to it, you can see they're building a hockey rink. Lots of repeating patterns there that they wanted to use, creating their lines for their hockey rink. Rulers, a lot of the students that did the ski lift used a lot of rulers and string and yarn. And you can see down the bottom, there's some alpine skiing popsicle sticks that were laid out to try to go down there. And you can see that this is little snow fort that Gigi is hiding in and safely, and they would put popsicle sticks to cover that as well. So logistically wise, on this was we have a 40-minute library technology block once a week for kindergarten through 5th grade. So the people in charge of this were our librarian and our technology person. So there were 2 adults in the room to help organize this. I would say we kept this out for about 2 weeks at a time. So we would have kindergarten through 2nd grade that they would have like the first 2 weeks in January to do their STEAM challenges. 40 minutes was a substantial amount of time. So it was good that they could actually build something and finish a task, because we tried to create space where they could leave it. So you do want to kind of be mindful of, if you're doing in your classroom, if you want to have it in boxes or something that may take more time. We were able to leave it in our libraries for the most part, so kids could keep and come back to something. You could also just have them do it within the time frame there, and then just give them a little bit of time to clean up. And then we would have our grades 3 through 5 would do the following 2 weeks, just so that it wasn't so hectic all the time in the libraries. And that way we could replenish materials if we were looking for things that kids had used a lot, such as like popsicle sticks or straws, and to just kind of regroup scissors, glue sticks, glue, tape, any kind of things like that. So that was really fun. People are still talking about it. Gigi made an appearance to see all the kids' creative ideas and ask questions. So they were really excited to talk about what they designed and how it worked. Was it successful? What would they change? And it was just a lot of fun, but definitely requires some prep work. I'm just going to pause here for a minute and stop sharing, just in case anybody has any questions. Feel free to come off mute from anything from September through January, but usually January people have the most questions about.
I have a question.
Sure.
Just maybe I missed it, but so for the GG Winter Games, is there like a challenge? How do you set that up?
Yes, so there's a description for each activity. So that's a great question. So there's a description for each activity. So prior to the kids coming into their library media class, we would kind of just do a little presentation, kind of sharing. The teachers could do it within their class, just sharing the different ideas and the different challenges and kind of what was available. That way, when they got to media, it would be kind of a quick review of, here are a few different ideas. If it's too overwhelming to have all of those ideas, and especially if you're thinking you're in a smaller space, you may pick like 2 ideas and have like, oh, build a snow fort or build a bobsled, and just do that for 2 weeks versus have like 6 different challenges. It kind of varies on what you have available, your space, your school, your staff, the number of students. If you have, 26 students, it may be a lot if they're all trying to, build alpine ski little places versus if you have, just like, oh, I can use popsicle sticks and I have 26 kids, I can do that. So you also want to think about your materials, but there are descriptions, and then we put little signs out as well. So that way the kids always knew, like, okay, if you're building like the ski lift, your goal is to build a lift that can actually carry Gigi all the way up. And it would have it right on the description.
So you're gonna share all those descriptions for to us?
Yes, I believe you'll get the whole presentation after. So you will be able to, anything that is blue is a link. So there are quite a few links that you could come up with it. The ideas for the challenges, we were just thinking about the Olympics and different games in different ways. And then we kind of just looked at some different STEAM projects and kind of just tailored them specifically to Gigi. We bought these like very small little figurines that we just reused off Amazon. And they were just a couple dollars. And they reused them for every single media class. So it wasn't like we were purchasing them for just, like, I just purchased them with my own money for like a few dollars and then gave them to each school. So that there was like maybe 5 to 7, I would say. I might have included a link later on in the presentation of some of the items that we did buy. But yeah, they were tiny little penguins. Also a good question in case you have big ones. No, these were little miniature ones, just a couple inches tall.
I had a question. Did everyone participate, or was it like if you had X amount percentage, you got to participate?
Nope, every single, we have at our larger schools that have about 400 kids, we have 3 teachers per grade level, and every single class participated. But that's why we did break it up into, like, we did kindergarten 1st and 2nd for the first 2 weeks in January, and then 3rd, 4th, and 5th for the second 2 weeks in January, just so it wasn't all happening at once. But if you had the space and you can do it all at the same time, definitely makes that easier too.
Do you recommend doing it like a family night or something where it could be
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, you can pick and choose. You could find the ones that you like and that you will find the most engaging. You could also survey students to see, like, what would be your top 2 that you would want to try. Also good for those like crazy kind of off days where there's lots of other activities or celebrations going on. That could be a fun challenge to see, like, you know, you could adapt it to whatever you want. If you wanted to build the snow fort and see how much weight it could hold, you know, you could put cubes on there or find other materials that would weigh it. And then you could compare the other ones in your class. So a lot of different options and different ideas that you can get creative with.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Allison, I think someone did mention if they wanted to access the slides, how would they find them? Hopefully this is the same on your side, but if you scroll all the way down on this page that you're on right now through Whova, there should be a handouts heading at the very bottom of the page, and you should be able to download her slides right there. So that's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to share again and I'll keep moving on. All right. February. This is a very simple challenge. It's just a stick with it challenge. And all I did was I printed out a bunch of, hold me for a second. I printed out a bunch of different Gigi like icons, a lot of the creatures that are used, a lot of the place value things just on labels, and just cut them up. So like you can see that there's like pie monster or like the snake, and so many different options to do this. You could just stick it on papers. You could have the students try to collect a certain amount, or have the class collect a certain amount. The goal being to get to whatever you set it as. You could do it as graphing. You could do it as a school competition, but very minimal prep. The labels are already set for you. Just have to have those, and then you can put them on there. I still find that even fifth graders love stickers. So anything kind of novel that they're not used to getting, very exciting for them. I have also used these stickers as trying to build connections to our math program. We use investigation. So our place value models are a little bit different. They're based on what we call the sticker station, which is sheets of 100, strips of 10, and then single stickers. So I'll just kind of remind students that in ST Math that they use petals, flowers, bouquets, things like that, just trying to bridge that connection. Or even just with the pie monster, this is a 10 frame, like with kindergarten, like when you see that, it's the same as what's in your book. So just different ways you can do it, but very simple, minimal prep. If you don't want to print it on labels, you can just print it on white paper and cut them out, and they could just use a glue stick as well. So again, they could still graph, they could pick their favorite one. They love the octopus or the one that looks like a pickle. You know, different things can be very motivating to them, and they could be given out for any reason. It doesn't have to be math related, or it could be. So different kind of ideas. This is one we haven't done yet. I'm hoping it will be really fun. It does take a little bit of prep just to prepare the materials, but it is essentially about a scavenger hunt. It is written for kindergarten through fifth grade. So essentially I came up with a bunch of different ideas of things that they would need to do or find. And then you just need to attach the picture to it. So for example, here's the first one, and it says, find something that's shaped like a square. And then here's another one. Find something that comes in pairs. Find a repeating pattern. So I did have to tape these or glue these together, but you can use it in a few different ways. You could use it directly within your classroom if you want to do it as a classroom, or you could do it within the school. And I recommend like maybe putting a few out at a time, not all at once. There are 25 of them. And so you could kind of like hide them around the room and say, okay, well, there are a few new Gigi cards today. If you have a chance after you finish your work, see if you can find number one. If you're doing it around the school, you would just want to make sure it's visible and that you're giving time for like students to find it. So for example, I would put it like outside their specialists, like outside the music room or inside the cafeteria or inside if you have the library or the gymnasium if you want to put them all in there. You can also use this for like a family like literacy and math night if you have one of those. You can adapt to have it much shorter if you only want to do 10 versus 25. You could pick the ones that you would like to do. I find like having them slightly hidden is, you know, the kids get excited about looking for something new and are curious because all of them do have a different Gigi on them. So collecting them, they like their recording sheets. So I'll show you just quick here what the little cards would look like, and then you would just need to glue them on the back. There are like a few that you would maybe want to preview or that students could use support with if they're in kindergarten. But again, most of them they would be able to access. And here's the different, some other examples. Find something that is longer than 6 inches. Find something that has symmetry. Find something that comes in equal groups. And you can differentiate for older students if you want to give them more constraints, like find a 2-digit number that's odd, or find a 2-digit number that's greater than this, but less than this. So easily you can modify it or change it up year to year. But very visual. Again, it could be something that you also send home over a vacation if you're trying to encourage students to do it with their family or with friends. So I'm excited about that. So we haven't given it a try yet, but I think it's going to be fun for them. April is very simple. It is just jokes. So I have a few jokes. If you want to, I'll read a couple. And if you want to type an answer into the chat, I'll pause for a few seconds. But who doesn't like to laugh? And if you have the kids read them, I only put 10 jokes up there, so I'd recommend maybe like a joke every other day or a few jokes a week or something like that, or have the kids come up with their own jokes versus doing all of them in one day. But they're all related to penguins, so I think they could be fun. What is even smarter than a talking penguin? A spelling bee. What do you call a cold penguin? A bird. What's a penguin's favorite vegetable? Iceberg lettuce. Where do penguins go to dance? The snowball. Where does a penguin keep its money? In a snowbank. Where do penguins go to the movies? At the dive-in. So very simple. That requires zero prep. Just print off the little jokes. You may not work as well with older students, but the younger students would definitely get a chuckle. And I bet you do have some kids that actually know the answers to those as well. This was one of the most successful things that we did last year. And I can tell you that even fifth graders, like, it was novelty. They were so excited about something that took minimal prep. Any kind of GG that was different, that was jazzed up. I did glitter last year, and I just put like Elmer's glue on the belly and then sprinkled different colored glitter, and handing those out, like, the kids went wild and wanted to even put them on their door. And I was like, I can't even believe fifth graders would go for this. But they were like so excited. Little star stickers. You can buy those cheap ones at the dollar store. Even just like some clip art. I've included some clip art here, but again, if you wanted jewels or little crowns or things like that. A GG just in, that's gold, that's just on paper. If you want a GG shimmer, you can kind of tell a little bit. And again, another big hit is just like jewels, bedazzled. Something about the novelty and having in your classroom and getting a reward for it. They were really excited. A lot of those things you can purchase at the dollar store, so you're not spending lots of money. You might even ask some of your older students, if you have a student council, to come if you're not one that wants to do glitter. If you just use like the top of the paper boxes and then put the GG in there and use glue and just kind of sprinkle it on there, I feel like kids always want to help. And that's a good way to kind of involve your school and involve the students, especially handing them out. We also have a few GG costumes, some with like actual real costumes and then some like Amazon penguin ones, and having the principals dress up as GG and give out these awards was amazing. Some of the principals kind of did like a sneak peek, and they would, you know, dress up. You couldn't see their face, and then they'd come deliver it and then change quick and like come back out and be like, oh my gosh, and have somebody else dress up as GG. So the kids didn't actually know who was in the GG costume, which they all were so curious as to who it was. And it can't be, you know, Mrs. Powers, because Mrs. Powers is right there and there's a GG. So that was something that I didn't think about, but it made a difference to the kids. And then for June, we just did some school-wide celebrations. So we had some top class finisher awards, some little certificates. You could, if you really wanted to go big, we thought about doing this, but the end of the year comes quick, is really trying to make some of the games come to life. So we thought about like the push box, and like for field day, having, you know, the kids like carry a few boxes and then like walk up a ramp and pick up some more and like end up at the end. Or we do have trikes here. So we thought about trying to do like a number line and have the kids like trike to a certain spot on the number line, either with whole numbers or with fractions. So just like, again, those take a lot more prep than some of the other ideas, but could be really fun. And our kids always love field day, and it's a great way for them to work together and celebrate all of their year of hard work. And so here are just a few other ideas. If, again, your calendar is totally up to you. I do try to do mine before the school starts, or at least do half of it before the school starts, and then it's less stress on me. And that way I can kind of just send out once a month, like, oh, here's an idea for March if you want to do it with your school or with your class. I don't typically send the whole calendar out to all the staff. I will share it with the champions, but I kind of go on a month-to-month basis unless anybody is really curious as to what's coming next. But just simple things like, these are just the celebration notes. I just made them smaller. That way I could fit more of them on a page. There's a Gigi's 3 in a row tic-tac-toe board. The door decorating contest can be a hit or miss. You either, teachers like love that or like get that away from me. I never want to do that, and that's all work for me and not work for the kids. So I always leave that as like optional if you want to do that, but I wouldn't typically include it in my calendar because I know everybody has different feelings around that. Poetry, there's so many penguin poems out there. And again, you just print them off and you read them. It keeps enthusiasm going. Dress up day, dress up like a penguin. Most of the kids have some of those colors, so it can make meaningful. I know some people have different hats or make different outfits. You can go all out or just very basic. Then there's a graphing challenge. I think ST Math also has their own. If you wanted to make that graphing challenge, you could make it on a big poster, and instead of cutting out the little squares, if you colored in the shaded in the squares, you could try to keep track. And there's 149 squares, so you could do it like, oh, if our class gets however many puzzles this week, we get to color in 10 squares, or every puzzle more we get, you can make your own goals for it. 1 square, 1 puzzle, different ideas. And then some of the things we purchased, we did purchase some of the little water bottle stickers, some ribbon cutouts, and then we got circle stickers that we just printed Gigi's on, address labels, the shimmer cardstock, the little penguin figures that I mentioned from before. Here's also another bulletin board. I'll just show you that real quick. This bulletin board is nice because it already has different ways to celebrate kids on there. Best effort, 12 plus puzzles in a day, made it to the next level, use manipulatives, greatest minutes for the week, greatest puzzles for the week, 20 consecutive minutes, never gave up, beat their puzzles from last week, beat their minutes from last week, made it to a new objective, made it to a new game. So nice that it's not just based on your amount of minutes and puzzles, that every kid can achieve something on there, especially your kids that maybe don't have as much time because they're pulled out of the classroom more, or it's not something that they enjoy, so that they can still feel celebrated. And I'm almost there. A few tips. So if you want to make your own calendar, you're welcome to steal and use any of these ideas. But if you're deciding to do your own for next year, I just recommend mixing it up so that you don't have anything that's too labor intensive, that you give things that can just be easy and printed off, and you'll get a lot more buy-in from the staff if they don't really have to do much. If you can plan ahead, it will be less stress for you, especially when meetings and things come up that you're not aware of. Get whoever you can involved. If you have champions, if you have students, if you have administrators, specialists, if you have an SEL committee, a great way to help everybody kind of contribute. More ideas, the better. And then just vary the goals so it's not always about a competition, lots to celebrate, but it doesn't always have to be a celebration as well. And I did give you your own calendar template if you wanted to make your own, or if you wanted to take specifically from mine, that one's right there for you. And that's all I have. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute. I didn't leave my email up there, but I'll type it in the chat so you have it. It's allisonday@danvers.org. So thank you very much for attending. I hope you have some ideas and found it useful. that you can bring back to your school community. And thank you.